Well, as you guys saw from the last video, we have footers poured. I'm excited about today. Today is the first day we get to actually stack out ICF for this edition. Let's get this started. Well, as you can see here, we actually have official prints for the Castle edition. Thanks to William, who is a subscriber on the channel. William, thank you so much. These prints are gonna go far and far and far into this build. And I'm here to tell you, William and I had a lot of conversations. William and I went back and forth. William did a great job making recommendations and offering his skills to be able to put these prints into perspective off of the hand drawing that I did and put on to my YouTube channel here. And I'm here to tell you, I really like the layout of this. I've got to cut 2 holes in the castle. This is the actual first floor. This is the foundation. And this is realistically what we're working on currently. You guys saw the footers get laid out. You guys saw the footers get poured. So now what we have to do is ensure that these stem walls come up to the proper height to get our first floor system right about that red line. That's pretty close. That's a guesstimate. Today we'll take the laser, we'll check the inside floor, we'll check it out here. We'll make sure that we get up high enough with that ICF to get that subfloor installed, and then go up with the second level walls, which you guys can see is almost, whoops, that's the wrong print. That's the floor joist layout, which is essentially, oh my goodness gracious, where's it at? Looks like I have these prints out of order. Imagine that. There's the second floor. So this floor essentially goes on top of that floor. You guys can see that the stairwells are the same. It does end up adding a bonus room. This door's location is questionable. I have a sneaky suspicion it's actually going to end up over here just a little bit, as it's got to be to the left of that hole. And this is our outside wall here. You can see how close that is. I'm pretty confident it's going to end up somewhere over in here. But that gives you guys a really good view of what we're headed to do. This being step number 1, get to this floor level. In order to do that, the very first thing we got to do is get the old Massey fired up and get this entire inside area backfilled with 11s flush with the top of the former drain. So let's start getting some rock in here, and let's start getting some rock flattened out. All right, I fibbed a little bit. The real step number 1 is getting this extra pad scooped up and moved. I think I'm just gonna set it up there out of the way. Let's see if I can get it spun around with the forks and picked up here. yeah. I couldn't lift it high enough to get it over the hump back there, so right there's where she's gonna sit until we need her in smaller pieces or actually have a need for it. So I think it'll be just fine right there, don't you?
Yeah.
So nice of you to show up this morning, Mr. Let's start at 7 and it's what time? Huh? Mr. I want to start at 7. Anyway, let's go back here and get some rock backfilled. Well, there you have it. It is backfilled all the way to the top. This will get us the proper plane to throw down our vapor barrier. Once we're ready for that, we've got one low spot here, and that's our plumbing connection that goes to the septic system. So the next step is to pull out the prints, measure off the 20 by 20, get it squared to the actual castle, chalk us a line, and start stacking some ICF. Let's get this going. All right, you ready to square this extremities of the ICF up with our footer? Yeah. I need you to go behind the wire and cord there and bump that cinder block wall. Okay. That one's a little closer than what I would like, but that'll work. Now if you want to hold in that corner, I'll pull the 20, our cross dimension for a 20 by 20 was 28 foot 3 3/8, right? 28 foot 3 3/8. 28 foot 3 3/8. Kind of gave us a little bit of an arc out here. All right, now if you want to go to this rock wall, you'll see the pencil line on the left corner there. Feet. Now let's go straight across, bump that corner and go 20 feet again. Like it? Okay. Now let's establish get this out. I got us over. You have a good point of reference where you can touch the wall and get this cross 28 foot 3, or kind of iffy. What if I hold you on 28 foot 3 3/8 and then we see where it hits? Got to go off of your side of the tape. Take a little more. Okay, that's pretty daggum close. Well, that is spot on.
That's along the edge of the concrete.
Right, which you see the pencil mark right at the edge?
Yeah.
That's the 20-foot mark from that wall.
Real close.
Pretty close? All right, so that's our intersection point right there. Now let's throw some chalk to it and hope it all fits. End. Okay, so you guys saw that we just stacked out 2 courses. Yeah, a couple of times we unstacked some because we were just... Dustin's never used ICF at all. This is the first time I have used Superform, so I'm trying to figure out, is this identical to the last block that I used or not? Essentially, it's the same concept. However, to minimize my waste, we didn't alternate our outside corners. That's the first change we made. And what I mean by alternate our outside corners, normally you put the long corner and then on the opposite side you do a short corner. But by doing that, the common that I have regardless, right here, this common's gonna run all the way to the top of this 4-course wall, and then it'll run all the way to the top of the 11-foot walls. This common stays. I can transfer it later if I need to, because the crawl space doesn't matter. I'm not going to finish it. But when you get to those 11-foot tall walls and you're finishing it, when you have a common, now you got to pull from your outside corners to get the center of your studs instead of just pulling off of a stud, right? So that should register to you guys. These studs have a specific gap which continues to this point, but once you hit this common, if you pull from that corner over this dimension, center to center, 4 inches opposed to what it's supposed to be, 6 inches. You guys see the difference there? So that'll throw you off when you go to hang drywall. You really can't see it once you put drywall up there, right? So that we solved, minimizing our waste by not alternating our corners. We did figure out that since this block is male on top, female on the bottom, you have lefts and you have rights for the corners. That's different than the last block, but we figured it out and it's working out just fine. And then you saw stretching this tape measure corner to corner. You want to go out there to that farthest point? We've already got our lines on the wall. So what we are doing here, for those of you guys who do construction work, everybody that does construction work understands that a 3, 4, 5 triangle is the shortest way to square up a corner. So we are going 12, 16, 20. 12 foot out from this inside, 16 foot over from the inside. You guys can see that there right on 16. And then Dustin will stay there and I go down to this 12 foot mark. And what this should pull is 20 feet. And as you guys can see right there, I'm pulling on that pretty significantly tight, and that 20 foot is right on the dot. So this corner, all the way out to 20 feet and all the way out to 16 feet, is perfectly square with that corner. And we did the exact same thing over there. We've got a 16 foot mark, or a 16 foot mark and a 12 foot mark, and that corner is exactly square. We did figure out that the castle, once again, is not straight. So you guys saw us chalk these lines before we started putting the ICF down, and we squared off the castle from over there and we squared off the castle from over here. Well, over here at the castle is a totally different dimension than over there at the castle, which is also why we're so close to the edge of the footer, because when I pulled my first dimension out of that corner, it's actually 3 inches further back than this side over here. So yeah, I don't have a ledge anymore to put rock on, but that's okay. The ICF is on the footer, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, it's like doing an addition on the Dr. Seuss building or something.
It's definitely the Dr. If you come over here and you really start to eyeball this thing, as we take this ICF up, the building gets further and further away from the ICF. So we're gonna have to do some pretty interesting stuff. But the thing that makes me feel comfortable about it, Dustin, is as you come over here, we know we're 3 inches distance back from over there, but we have 3 studs, which essentially is 20 inches that we have to play with. So we can just continually leave this block a little longer to fade into that difference where that wall leans away from us. It's because it's a tower. Towers are naturally supposed to get smaller towards the top, right?
Hopefully not more than 20 inches.
If it's more than 20 inches, well, we'll figure that out, bud.
That's only I know for sure.
That's right. Well, let's get back to stacking this out. Yes, everybody's going to comment, you guys forgot your rebar. We forgot it at first, but we have it in there now. You guys can see it's in there now. We've got the hole hammer drilled in. We're going to epoxy a stub out, which will ensure that the ICF wall ties into the castle as well. You ready to rock on?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Well, there is 2 courses stacked out with rebar tied into the castle wall, both levels, both sides. And I just went through and checked this entire thing with a grade rod. We are 1/16 of an inch high right here, only on the inside corner, and it's where you guys remember I told you we would end up on top of the former drain there because of the way we had to sneak that around to ensure the former drain's tied. And then over here where our common is, we end up between a 1/16 and an 1/8 low right here. The rest of the wall inside and out is perfectly level. So 1/8 of an inch low here, 1/16 of an inch high there. I'm not going to complain about that too much. We'll probably shim the common both inside and out and bring that up an 1/8 to make sure that that doesn't mess with us. But this 1/16 over here in this corner, I'm not too concerned about it. I feel like we'll be able to chase that out as we go all the way up. So at this point, it is lunchtime. We're gonna go grab some lunch, and we're gonna come back, finish stacking this out, get it staked off, get it crutched up and ready for pour. Well, all right, Dustin. Mr. hasn't done ICF before. We got our 2 courses in. We got them locked. We got our rebar in it. We got our commons in place. Now it's time to truly lock them down and foam the bottom.
Okay.
That ensures that the foam stays on your chalk line both inside and out. And while it's curing, we can still stack more. But I did confirm we're an 1/8 inch low, basically right here in this area. It's about a 4-foot span. So we just got to ask ourselves, before we foam it, do we throw some shims and bring that up to exact, since it is a common? And essentially what's going to happen is that common, as you add weight to it, is just going to keep pinching more close as we go up. I know we're only going 4 courses here, but I think we should shim it.
Okay.
Throw a shim on the inside, both sides of the common, shim it up 1/8, then we'll foam it down.
Sound like a plan.
All right, let's do it. Ready?
Yep.
Check it. Check this side here, see where we're at. Pretty sure it's 1/8. Yep. All right, and throw a shim under it here. And just take the shim and slide it right under it. What you got now? Tad more? How about you now? Tad more?
Oh, good.
Like it? All right, go to the other side of the common there.
I see it starting to come up.
Right there?
Yeah.
All right, now switch me. You take the shims. I'll take the grade rod. Ooh, crap, I mean.
Need more?
Oh, that's good right there. Now let's go to this one. Right there.
All right.
All right, now all we gotta do is foam that in place, leave the shims in. We'll cut them off later after we pour some concrete. Let's get this foamed. Do what? Huh?
Are we on the line?
Yeah, we were. We're gonna get the foam, stack out the next 2 courses, I believe it. We might be able to get by with 3, but we gotta check the inside floor yet with the laser and then come out here and confirm. The only thing I'm trying to do is get this ICF stem wall just past the floor level, top of floor, so we can put our metal bracketry in and ensure that the floor system matches with the floor system that's inside the castle.
What you got going on, man?
What?
What you got going on?
Well,
Looks like you had an incident.
my shipment didn't come in, so we had to go borrow a foam gun from
Yeah.
M&R Excavation.
You're not a good borrower.
Well, I said, I ain't got nothing, so it's clogged. So I'm gonna take the, boom!
I just heard you make a noise. Look back and there's
Yeah.
something growing.
So I see what their problem is. They've got a broken O-ring down in there. I really don't have that much foam to squirt out. I'm just hopeful that this is gonna work.
Yeah,
I might get exploded on again.
I got faith in you just from about 5 feet away.
Yeah. Don't blame you for that.
Well, you got it on.
Let's see what happens.
What?
We cleaned their gun up. We're good to go. But I do need to tell him he needs to get his O-ring taken care of.
Yeah. Wow. That's impressive.
Oops.
Easy does
Last
it.
trigger. Last trigger. We'll film that comment later.
Well
Film
done,
that
sir.
later too.
Like this. Like this. Like this. Like this.
Well, okay, we are to the point that we've got to prepare for the pour more than just stack out. We have got to support these walls to keep them plumb, square, and straight. And we're going to do that a couple of different ways. Usually what we do is we take a much longer board than this, but imagine this board is, let's just say, 20 feet long. And we screw it, and we call that a stiff back. We screw it to each of the studs, or every other stud, or every third stud, all the way around the whole thing. And we're gonna do that, but the other thing we do once that is on there is we then take a board and we run it at a 45, and we drive grade stakes in out there to hold this, which ensures the wall does not flex in or out whenever the concrete is going in it. But Dustin had a really good idea. Since we know every bit of this down in here has concrete and we're going to have to hammer drill holes and yada yada yada, I for a fact have 20-foot 2x12s right over there in the bottom of that stack that is going to be used for these floor joists. So what we did is we marked every 3 feet is the long skinny line. I'm going to screw a 2x4 to this wall just like that goes all the way down, almost all the way up, and then we're going to cut our 2x12s to span this 18-foot 2 opening and screw it to the side of the 2x4s on both sides, which then will ensure we have a 2x12 going all the way across in 6 places every 3 feet. We have a stiff back on top, and then we'll be able to run a stiff back along there and put 2x4s in horizontally to tie it into the first 2x12, and then run 2 boards at 45-degree angles to ensure that those boards tie into these 2x12s, and it stiffens up this entire thing. And then we just, after it cures, we pop those boards back off and we use them for our floor joists. We just got to cut them a second time. So let's get some boards on there. I can't put the 2x12s in without another person. That's just not going to work real well in 18-foot 2x12, trying not to knock a wall that doesn't have concrete in it out of square, straight, or plumb. So I have to wait for Destin on that. But the lumber delivery, they put the 2x12s on the bottom, and that's what we need first. So after I get these boards screwed on in 12 places, I'm going to come over here with the forks, and I'm going to straighten up this pile and do some organization and try to get everything tucked in over here closer to the castle, so it's not so far, and we can still get a concrete truck in here to pour this wall. Let's get some boards screwed onto this wall. Okay, we have got our vertical supports in. Again, those are only on these two walls because we're going to span 2x12s from 2x4 vertical 2x4 to vertical 2x4. And on this wall here, we're going to run 2x4s from here over to that 2x12. But what we're going to put on now is the stiff backs. What the stiff backs are for, if you look down through here, you can see how this block is a little bit off of that block. So in order to ensure that those aren't kicking back and forth at every joint, if you run a 2x4 right down through here on end, screwed to that wall, that ensures that everything is nice and straight. Let's get some stiff backs on. Well, there are the stiff backs installed. You guys can see those are just horizontal boards that are screwed at the edge, toe-nailed on, to ensure that this wall is very consistent and straight from seam to seam to seam. See if I can get you guys a little bit better view. Oh! Go down here to this far end. And it looks like I've got one spot all the way down there, about right there, that I sucked in too far, and it's probably because that 2x4's got a slight bow to it. I can fix that just by adjusting the screws. Look at that one. That is, oh, got one screw down there. Just our side of the hammer, about a foot. Looks like I need to pull it in just a little bit more. And we go over here, let's check this one. Ooh, that one looks nice. Those 2x4s must have been the straightest 2x4s. I mean, but you can see, that's nice and straight. So the next step to getting this thing ready for pour is getting those 2x12s in there at that center course. Just kind of where the top course meets the center course is about where we're going to put them. So it's supporting the top really well and the bottom basically well. I'm not worried about putting a board top and bottom because the wall also supports itself. And this is going to be guaranteed cannot push in and guaranteed cannot push out because it's going to be screwed. That 2x12 is going to be screwed right here on the side of this 2x4 to ensure that it captures the wall this way and it can't spread out and it can't push in. We did check the floor on the inside on time lapse. I forgot to turn the camera on and show you guys that, but the red mark right there on the wall to the left of the popcorn sign, there's a black mark right at the top of that red mark. So our original paint line is basically spot on, and that puts top of joist right here flush with the top of this portion of the ICF, which is essentially the same thing as this outside portion right here. So those floor joists are going to rest right on top of that. The only thing that we have to be careful with when we go to put our subfloor, the actual OSB, that's right, I called it OSB, not plywood, just for you guys. When we go to put that 3/4 inch tongue and groove OSB on here, we just have to make sure, and this board won't be here, but we have to make sure that we don't get past this line. So we'll probably hold back 1/4 so that we can get that next level stacked out with it without any resistance from the plywood. As stated, that's the end of this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stack out of this ICF and some of the strapping and crutches and staking and all of that stuff. We will video throwing in the 2x12s, and we're hopeful that that same day we get to pour. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, like, comment, subscribe.